yourself and send it to the right people. And yeah.
Excellent. Okay, I am screen sharing now. Am I? No. This is an adventure, everyone.
Doing great. You're killing it.
Thank you. Let's start this whole thing over again with the Year of 13 Moons, Act 1, Scene 1.
Year of 13 Moons, Act 1, Scene 1. Sam, casually well-dressed, sits spotlit in a cushy recliner. Their mien suggests that they might, at any moment, brim over.
2020 was the year I turned 13, which also happened to be a year of 13 full moons. 2 of those moons fell in October, my birth month, the second on my birthday. As my algebra teacher endlessly says, do the math, people. If the moon turns 13 times on its axis at the time the Earth rotates once around the sun, and the chances of my having been born on that day are 1 in 365. Math's not exactly my power subject, which is like tragic since I plan to be a famous astronomer one day. What could be more buzzy than all those orbs and unidentified who know what's spinning and transiting above our heads? And 2020 was the ultimate cosmic blowout. You felt it in the scary space behind your eyes, saw it in the black hole that suddenly opened in your dreams as each one of those 13 moons waxed and waned, waxed and waned.
A hypnotherapist, equal parts maternal and businesslike, appears, seated nearby.
And as you breathe deeply in and out, your eyelids grow heavy. So heavy. You can't keep them open. Why even try? And you may notice before you a staircase.
Yeah, I see it.
Good. Now, continuing to breathe, take the first step down and another. Slowly down, down to that place of peace and perfect knowing.
Sorry, I lost it.
Breathe. That's right. Let go of any expectations. Feel yourself melt into the chair.
Maybe it's not working? Can we just talk?
Of course, Sam. Hypnotherapy isn't the right modality for everyone. Just because your mother swears by it doesn't mean that...
My mom and her projections. She sinks into a funk and I get carted off to another therapist. Last year, it was some Jungian dream analyst. The year before that, a bone-tossing rebirther.
Sam gets to their feet and slowly paces.
You're an only child, aren't you?
Obvious, huh?
Can't be easy. No siblings, single mom.
I did have a father, briefly. Then my mom decided she didn't believe in marriage.
The balancing act of family and career, it's...
I get it. She's passionate about her work.
And brilliant. Country's foremost historian. Role model to a new generation of feminists.
Don't think I'm not proud of her. It's just...
Intimidating?
boring. I mean, she never even brings anyone home. Evening, weekends, it's just the 2 of us. Or if she's traveling, me and Celestina, our housekeeper / handy woman.
How about your friends? Your friends?
Last time I brought a friend home, she and my mom sat up half the night snorting kale smoothies and debating the political correctness of the term bitch. I went to my room and did homework.
How did that make you feel?
I love my mom. Parenting just isn't her thing, and she's so in her head.
How did that make you feel?
Last birthday, she took me to that Ruth Bader Ginsburg documentary. The year before that, a Me Too symposium.
I won't ask how that made you feel.
She doesn't know me. Okay, it's too busy feminizing to notice I've got interests of my own. Ticks me off, totally. With that preternaturally humongous brain of hers, and not to mention her Mary Poppins-like cheerfulness, how can someone with an IQ of 164 bubble like that? I tried to talk to her about the 13 moons, and she launched into a lecture about oppressed female astronomers, which was so not relevant. Sometimes what matters isn't in your head, but above it. Try telling her that. Of all the mothers, I get stuck with the most anal, embarrassing, impossible, and I love her.
Excellent. Same time next week?
Scene 2. The open plan living area of Chloe and Sam's urban condo, comprising a comfortable sofa and armchair and a kitchen island that doubles as a dining table / work surface with a couple stools. All art and other cultural artifacts center female genius and worldview.
Hand me that wrench.
Sam hands her the wrench.
Cheap PVC pipes. I've seen better plumbing in a tenement.
The doorbell rings.
I'll get it.
Sound of a door opening. Muffled voices.
If it's the condo association guy, tell him to blow it out his ass.
Sam ushers in Damien, who looks around with a thinly veiled curiosity.
This is Damien. He's here for Mom.
Damien, you got an appointment?
Do I need one?
Chloe never mentioned any Damien.
You a student of hers?
Actually, we knew each other back in Philly.
Ancient history.
Yeah, well,
Sam, can you give me a hand?
Now?
Celestina silently summons Sam, her gaze stern, and chin indicating the opposite side of the room.
I'm not buying this kid's story.
He's barely said anything.
Your mama hasn't set foot in Philly in nearly 20 years. How can he have known her? Zits on his face.
He seems nice.
How do we know he ain't packing?
A gun?
Yes, a gun. Kid's from Philly. You don't see him taking off that jacket, do you?
Well, we haven't exactly been hospitable, have we? May I take your jacket?
thanks. I'll hold on to it.
Damien reaches into his jacket pocket, sending Celestina into red alert.
Get down!
Asthma! It's gone worse since I started work.
Then you're not a student.
Not right now. I'm working construction for a while, trying to sock away tuition for BU.
Sure. Who wants to get buried in student loans?
Nice place. Must be cool living this high up.
I didn't like it much at first, but now that I've got a telescope on a clear night.
I've read that with high-end optics, we can see lunar surface details as small as 500 meters.
Craters, rills, mountains.
And the moons beyond ours?
Jupiters, Saturns.
Growing up, I always wondered what it would be like to live on a planet with 4 moons.
Next time you come, if it's dark out, you can look through my telescope and see all the way.
What did you say you wanted to talk to Chloe about?
It's kind of personal.
We're all family here.
I'm Chloe's daughter.
Yeah, I figured.
Look, Chloe may not be home until late. Why don't you leave her a message? I got a pen and paper right here.
This is a face-to-face matter.
Don't tell me you're like seeing my mom.
No.
How weird would that have been, huh?
Don't you have some homework to do?
If you maybe want to hang out sometime, I could show you those moons. There's a penumbral lunar eclipse coming up later this week.
The door creaks open. Footsteps.
Celestina? Sam?
Chloe breathlessly enters, setting down a bulging briefcase, unwinding her scarf.
Suppose I've missed dinner, end-to-end meetings, and then the elevator goes on the fritz. You didn't tell me you were bringing home a friend. I thought we agreed that weeknights were
Sam didn't invite him. It's you he's here to see.
Do I know you?
You should. Not that I'd expect you to remember.
I'm not good with names, but I seldom forget a face.
I've changed since then.
Look, I don't mean to be rude, but it's been a long day. I'm hardly in the mood for guessing games.
Could we talk alone?
Not gonna happen, Mr. Philadelphia.
Really? Philly?
You're from there, aren't you? So am I.
This isn't a good time. Tomorrow, if you still want to talk, call my office and make an appointment. I may be able to fit you in next week. I think you should leave.
You heard her.
You know, my friends told me it would go down this way, but I kept dreaming. You were so kind in my dreams.
I don't know who you are or what you're selling.
And you don't want to know.
I do. I want to know. Mom, can't you give him 5 minutes?
Tomorrow, then, at my office, say 9:15?
Is this the way that privileged people arrange their lives? In 5-minute time slots? Thinking anybody who shows up without a Harvard accent and the right logos is out to take advantage of them? Because if that's the way it is, I don't want any part of it. I'm done here.
Grasps his throat and wheezes. Soon he is fighting for breath. Sam
Inhaler.
rushes to his aid.
Sit up straight. Slow, deep breaths.
Is there someone we could call? Your parents? Celestina, please, see that he gets home okay.
So you just turn your back and walk away? Same as you did 18 years ago. You had a lot less to lose back then.
Please, you're scaring me. Nothing you're saying makes any sense.
You? Afraid? Have you any idea how many times I've stood at your door too terrified to push the bell? Till tonight. I heard Sam laughing and I thought, this must be a good place. Good people. My people. I'm your son, damn it. Your son.
Damien storms out. As if thumped, Chloe staggers backward onto the sofa. Sam and Celestina stand stunned. Scene 3. The following morning, Sam and Chloe's living room. Mother and daughter process the events of the evening before, with Celestina as self-appointed referee.
Stop looking at me like that. I've already told you. I was still in my teens. Damien's father said his family and us would adopt the baby. I thought he'd taken Damien back to France with him.
You signed papers?
Francois, Damien's father, was very persuasive. He hired a lawyer. I sure as heck couldn't afford one.
And you never thought to check up on your son?
My son? I barely caught a glimpse of him. Breech birth, 14 hours of labor. They doped me up. Toward morning, I heard crying, felt something warm and squirmy on my chest. I tried to get a look at his face, but they snatched him from my arms. I must have blacked out.
And you didn't have no one?
My college roommate. She came for me in a taxi. Neither of us had enough for the fare. The driver dropped us miles from the dorm in knee-high snow.
And Francois?
A few months later, he sent a card. Postmarked Strasbourg.
He must have mentioned Damien.
He just said he was sorry. I always assumed that...
You don't gotta justify yourself to us. You did what you thought was right.
And now?
It's too late. I sent Damien away. I don't know the first thing about him.
Well, he couldn't have been raised in France. No accent. Probably grew up blue collar and got some vocational training. He's working construction.
To earn money for school. Kid's paying his own way.
Sam did volunteer to work this past summer.
Don't compare us. And don't pretend you're not worried sick, alone in a strange city. Heavy labor is the last thing you should be doing.
Of course, I'm worried. But Damien's 18 and entitled to make his own choices. Besides, I have no idea where he lives.
Not likely to come back here. State we left him in.
Maybe not. But if he does, see that he gets a hot meal.
A hot meal? That's it?
It's a start.
Back off and cut your mama some slack. Can't you see she's hurting?
We're all hurting, but we've got one another. Poor Damien. What does he have?
Look, if it would help, I'll be happy to book you an extra therapy session this week. Work things through.
Seriously, Mom? You could be such a crouton.
I think you mean cretin.
Whatever.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, performers. That was a super fun read through. I'm now going to unmute my panel. I would love to first kind of hear what are your initial thoughts about this piece? What really stood out to you? John, I'll throw it to you first.
Hmm. I, I guess my first question is like, and I guess it's like not even one that can be answered right now at this time if the format is the way I remember it, but like, I feel like Celestina is coded as a person of color, um, because
Yeah,
it's
it
not
doesn't say specifically.
yeah, LGBTQ housekeeper. Doesn't say specifically, but like I think the way that the dialogue is written, because it's written very much lower class,
Mhm.
it raises an interesting question of class later for Damien as well, when they're like he's blue collar, but he doesn't quite have the same sort of specificity in the I guess the dialect written in there. So that's sort of the first thing that I'm interested in. That either the playwright's intent is to set up a sort of like that mystery there, where it's like blue collar, not blue collar, like trying to make Damien a bit more ambiguous, or but like Celestina Reyes and like, so it does make me like it's difficult for me to like put my finger on, because I believe most of the people reading are white presenting, etc.
Yes, yes. Our
So
cast
it's
is deeply white.
that's probably fine. Oh, shit. I just knocked over my tea.
Oh no. Well, I'll
Could you?
take that time to
Mazel
talk
tov.
to Lisa. Go ahead. Lisa, are you unmuted still? There you are. Oh nope, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Oh no, now we
Oh,
can.
now
Oh,
we can.
okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
So yeah, what stood out to you? What were some of your first impressions from this?
Um, there was uh, there was a line that stuck out to me that really struck me. Sometimes it's not about what's in your head; it's what's above it. And so I'm holding on to that. I'm curious about that and where that's going. I'm also tracking. Rotations, planets. I'm curious to see like where this goes and how this relates to what feels like the kind of like the inciting incident
Right.
of the story, which is this kid Damien coming back saying, "Hey, you're my mom." And,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
That brings up an interesting question to me, and it was something that I had while reading this, which is, from what we've seen so far, whose story is this right now? Because it's set up almost like our description is about Sam up here, and there's a lot about Sam, but the inciting incident, you're right, really focused on Damien. So whose story does it feel like this is being set up to be about? I'll toss that to either of you, John. Oh, I have to unmute you.
I mean, it still seems like it's about Sam, even though the inciting incident is Damien coming in. But I don't know because I haven't seen the whole thing or read the whole thing.
This is my own personal bias, but it feels very. I think what I want it to be is ensemble, right? I think I want to get little bits of everyone's stories and how they all tie in. Like, I guess really the main exception is hypnotherapists, because they're the only one who didn't get a name. But like everyone else has something to add to the puzzle, right? Of this family's relationship. Like even Celestina, like how like in sort of it sets up the prominence of Chloe, and like have a handy woman slash caretaker, right, for her child. So I'm just very like, I'm interested in seeing more from everyone, because right now it's sort of, this is like a very brief first date with these characters.
Right. Yeah.
I'd be very interested to get to know them more.
But
Like
it's good that we have the sort of buy-in, and we're wanting to know more about the characters. That sort of speaks to a depth already.
Yeah, agreed.
Speaking of that sort of train of thought, what is something that what is a question you have that you would really like to see answered shortly thereafter in this script?
I mean, my next immediate question is like, is Damien lying, right? Like, but then Chloe's still like, no, like there's still a child, and I'm still suspicious, right? I'm not sure what it is in the writing that it's like, I just don't, especially because like I'm dreaming about you, I'm standing at your door. I'm like, that's a lot of evidence towards being a biological child.
Right.
But like, I don't know, I'm so wary of con people these days where I'm like, So yeah, so I don't know. Everyone is very honest and forthright at the moment. And so I'm like, is someone lying? I don't trust that.
That's funny. Lisa, were there any other thoughts you had about this one?
Yeah, like questions that I have. I'm I'm curious about the asthma and like where that's gonna go.
Is it sort of a Chekhov's gun situation? Is this asthma going to come back?
um,
Chekhov's inhaler with the, because we thought it was a gun earlier.
and I guess, yeah, and just how this is all gonna connect to like the moons and the planets. Like I'm those are, yeah, those are, I kind of said that before. And also,
Yeah, because there are like a lot of different themes that have been brought up that could be really cool to see become motifs or sort of have deeper meaning.
yeah, and also how, like, what the playwright's trying to say about class.
Yeah, there's a lot of class commentary. Well, cool. I will leave it at that for this one, but keep it in consideration for the adoption ceremony at the end of the show. And with that, let's move on to Hard to Find. Let me pull it up and put this on screen share. And actors, if you could go ahead and read out who is playing stage directions, who's playing Julie, and who is playing the other character's name that I know, Professor. What did we cast, Professor?
I will be reading the stage directions.
I am reading Julie.
I am reading Gracie, who I don't think has any lines.
Yeah, I don't think we.
Yeah.
Oh, does Gracie not have lines? Then can you please?
I do not think Gracie has lines. So you want me to take Professor?
Yes, please. That's what I meant.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will do that. Yes.
All right, and let's go ahead and start Hard to Find, scene 1.
All right. Hard to Find, scene 1. Darkness. It's so dark and quiet. The audience begins to wonder if the show started, and if so, is something wrong? Then, very suddenly, a light clicks on. Julie sits near Gracie.
There are two kinds of ghost stories. The first kind of ghost story, there is a ghost who is a person who's dead, but who once was alive and is now caught someplace in the in-between. This person, or in-between sort of person, tends to lope slowly and sadly through the world, usually looking for something or someone to put an end to their hunting, and wondering, and they often need help finding that something for which they search. When the living meet these kinds of ghosts in these kinds of ghost stories, the ghosts are so rarely cruel or evil. More often, these ghosts are haunted themselves in the way a person feels in the morning after waking from a dream about a childhood home, in which everything is similar, but a little bit different from the way in which they remember it to be. In this way, this kind of ghost story is about ghosts looking for help. The second kind of ghost story is not really about ghosts at all. In these stories, something devastating happens to a person while they are living. It happens in such a way that the subject of the devastation just knows in their lungs and in their liver that they'll be haunted by this thing forever. And if this living person does not believe in ghosts, does not believe in life after death or heaven or reincarnation, then their life becomes a sort of living in between while they remain seemingly quite alive. They're living ghosts, sort of waiting and wandering and searching for something, like wholeness. Like the first kind of ghost story, the second kind of ghost story is also about someone who needs help. But the difference between the first and the second kind of ghost story is that the second kind of ghost story is inextricably and hopelessly intertwined with the story of the monster that created the living ghost in the first place. And those monsters must be punished.
Blackout. Scene 2. Darkness and silence. We hear footsteps coming closer. We hear keys and a door open. Lights click on in the apartment. We see that Julie has just unlocked the door and flipped the light switch. She stands in the doorway, then enters. Professor enters behind her.
Building is freezing.
I know.
So fucking cold.
Yeah.
I hate Maine.
Sorry, it's really dark in here. The super never changes the bulbs in the hallway.
Oh, it's okay.
We could go somewhere.
No.
The professor hands his coat to Julie.
Your apartment is really cute. Makes sense.
What does that mean?
It just does.
Oh, do you want something to drink?
Sorry. Oh, I forgot. I have a bottle of wine.
Oh, cool. Cool. I'll go get glasses.
She goes back off stage to get glasses. Professor sits down.
So, do you live alone?
What?
Do you live alone?
Julie enters with glasses.
Do I? Oh no, I have a roommate, Gracie.
Gracie.
Yeah, she's at her boyfriend's place right now. But they could both be home. Here. Whenever.
Well, I'd love to meet her. Here.
He takes the glasses and pours.
Yeah, the heat doesn't work great in here.
Maybe you should move.
Oh, all grad students have shitty apartments. Are you sure it's okay for me to open this? It looks really fancy.
Oh, yeah, of course.
He takes the bottle from her and opens it quickly.
Ta-da!
He pours.
So, how long have you lived in Maine?
Oh, my whole life. I grew up in Bar Harbor.
No wonder you don't care about the cold.
Where are you from?
South Carolina.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But I went to college in New Haven. Then lived in New York for a while, Lower East Side. Then I got this teaching gig, and I ended up here. It's nice when it's not winter. What? I mean it.
You do not.
Julie is drinking wine, and she begins to relax a bit. The professor should keep refilling her glass.
This is really good. I should have guessed you bought the good stuff.
What's that supposed to mean?
Oh, I don't know.
No, what? I should know what my students think of me.
You just have kind of a...
Ah, yes. Of course.
I just mean you have nice things.
Ah. Very diplomatic.
What do you want me to say? You're kind of pretentious?
There it is.
What?
I'm wounded.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna cry myself to sleep. I'm glad you like the wine.
Do you always carry fancy wine around with you?
Always.
Oh, come on.
Okay, thank you, performers. That was beautiful. So I would like to, once again, I will unmute my panel so that I can talk to them. Zoom fun. So panel, I want to hear sort of your initial impressions first, and then I'll get to my more specific question in a moment.
Well, I immediately don't trust the professor because of the precursor scene, right?
I
Where
just
it's like,
also don't trust professors alone with students. Like, nope, no longer trusting you.
hear that. But it's also like the play goes out of its way to like set up the two times of ghost stories, and I'm like, well, this is immediately a ghost story, especially I think with that unspoken stage direction that it may be spooky. So I
Hmm.
was like, I don't like with so like I am immediately distrustful of Professor.
Fair, valid. Lisa, what were your first impressions?
So some of the questions that I started to write down to like that I'm like, okay, this is something that the audience is maybe tracking. Was like, who are ghosts? Um, is this, are we about to see a ghost story?
Right.
That was like at the beginning for the little Julie story. And then we get to like the monster created ghosts. And I was like, okay, so now like it seems like the major dramatic question we're asking is who is the monster? Then when the professor was said he was cold, I was wondering, is he the ghost or is she the ghost? If either of them are ghosts.
Right. Is
And
somebody already a ghost versus is a ghost about to happen?
yeah.
Yeah.
And also like why is he, I mean, definitely like was wondering why is he over there?
Yeah.
And seems to be leading to where we think it is, and is our expectation going to be subverted?
Definitely. So this is a really unique one because it kind of starts off with this like beautiful poetic description of ghost stories, and then it switches into sort of a typical two-person scene. How did that device work for you, the switching from sort of this poetry back to prose? Oh, you're muted. There you go.
It's something I like a lot actually. I don't know. I think Ezra maybe remembers I wrote a whole play that switched between poetry and like prose. So and like just two-person scenes. So like I always enjoy the juxtaposition of it because I think it forms a in my mind it forms a greater sort of whole to the piece, and it really gets us to sort of hear Julie's voice when she is comfortable, right? Like she's telling a story,
Yes.
and then to see how she talks differently with the professor is something else that gets my dander up, where it's like she's very on edge with this person. And so beyond poetry and prose, it's sort of like I see Julie when she's comfortable versus Julie when she's not.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me that there's almost that we're talking about who is the ghost or where is the ghost in this. There's almost that ghost of, you know, Almost Sunny in Philadelphia, they would call it the implication, but that's sort of like the rape culture vibes that we're getting in this is like, you know, she realizes she's alone with an adult man and she changes her tactic to be like, oh yeah, my roommate will totally be home though, I'm not unprotected, and things like that. There's like this ghost of societal expectations and like fear in the room. I don't know, Lisa, what were your thoughts about the poetry versus prose?
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was really interested, and I'm curious to know like I was engaged and being like, okay, like what is, okay, where are we going with this? Where are we going with this? And I'm curious to know like the setting, like where is it existing? Where in time and space is that beginning part existing?
Interesting.
Just, you know, she's telling her a story, and it's like, where in time and space are we? Where this is existing?
Yeah, especially with this like beginning right here of it's so dark and quiet, the audience begins to wonder if the show is starting, and if so, is something wrong? Like that sets up this very ethereal feel already. I totally dig you on that. Well, any final thoughts before we move on to our next play? We'll unmute you. Oh, Kitten, you have something.
I do. I love this piece. I've loved it from the moment I first read it. And I think one of the things that I love about it is the fact that we're already structured to have the theater, the environment in which this story is being told, absolutely controlling the audience senses.
Mm-hmm.
and making them have that time in the beginning to sit there in the darkness, already have them questioning what's going on, already have them questioning if there's a problem, and then have them like very suddenly a light clicks on. They're jarred into this. They're like dropped full depth into this story.
Yes.
And I love that moment because I love that, like, whatever happens from here, like, the audience has had their feet bound in cement and they've been dropped off the edge of the boat, and they're going to sink to the bottom of this story with these characters, whether they like it or not.
Yes. No, it does immediately set this very almost immersive tone, and I think that's a really cool point. Well, cool. Keep this one in consideration for adoption as well, and let us move on to performers. You'll have to remind me what I said the third one is. Was it Love's Disenlightenment?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, I know my own show. Let me stop sharing and let me share again. Perfect. So Love's Disenlightenment. Let's go down and read yourselves off in order that it appears here, and then stage directions as well.
Aaron, I'm playing Jason.
Ezra, and I am reading Ash.
I'm Emily, and I'm reading stage directions.
Take us away.
Scene. Jason and Ashley are by a stage, scripts in their hands. On stage are a lamp and a stick. They stare at the objects in silence for a time.
I don't get it.
What's not to get?
The whole thing. I don't get any of it. What's going on?
Isn't it obvious? They're falling in love.
Oh.
Starting to. This is that awkward, uncomfortable phase.
Yeah. I'm definitely picking up on the awkward and uncomfortable.
Isn't it great?
And this is the whole bit? I thought plays were supposed to have dialogue and action and stuff.
There is dialogue. It's just nonverbal.
Nonverbal dialogue? What the hell is that supposed to mean? That's like inedible food. It doesn't make sense.
Shh, you're missing it.
Uh-huh. Have I missed all of it yet?
Are you seriously telling me you can't feel the tension between them, the longing, the uncertainty,
No.
the deep connection,
No.
as they get past their inhibitions,
No.
each one wondering if the other feels the same way,
No.
neither one brave enough to be the first to reach out,
It's a stick.
take that bold first step,
And a lamp.
to jump off the precipice of fate
You're shitting me.
into the great beyond,
You are, right?
unable to know if the other will jump with them.
Jason?
What?
You're full of shit, right?
What do you mean?
I mean, we're staring at a lamp and a stick.
Are you honestly telling me you can't feel the growing passion?
Ashley shakes her head in disbelief. Jason gets excited and turns a page in his script.
Well, pay attention. This part is really moving.
They're just...
A stagehand, dressed in the typical blacks, comes out and with a look of unsurpassed boredom and apathy, pushes the stick closer to the lamp. Jason sighs in appreciation as the stagehand exits.
Oh, isn't it beautiful?
What the hell just happened?
Jason motions to Ashley's script.
He couldn't take it any longer.
He?
And you said there wasn't any action.
What makes a stick a he?
Or she, whatever.
It's a stick.
You need to get over your preconceptions if you're ever going to have a chance to see it for its inner nature, Ashley.
What's really going on here, Jason?
Haven't you ever been in love, wanted to take that first step, but not known how?
Is this because no one came to auditions last week?
A moment later, another stagehand comes on, just as bored as the first, and moves the lamp back away from the stick a little, then exits.
What just happened?
The lamp got cold feet. They're too different, she's thinking. It could never work.
And how did you get that?
Look!
An audience isn't going to have the script, Jason.
You don't really need the script to get it if you are in tune with what's going on.
Nobody's going to be in tune.
The first stagehand comes on and moves the stick back to where it started.
I mean, we've all been there. The sense of rejection where you reach out and...
Jason.
What?
Is this about last week? I know you were bummed.
No. It's a love story. The love story, reduced to its rawest elements.
A stick and a lamp.
Right.
You want to know what I think?
I don't think so.
I think you took that joke about who needs the damn actors anyway a little too far.
You're projecting, Ashley. That's what you want to believe. You can't see anything else.
I'm projecting.
Right.
I'm projecting.
I'm just calling it like I see it.
The second stagehand comes back on and moves the lamp back to where it started, then exits.
What's that?
You're not even trying. If you aren't going to, at least...
Fine. Let me guess. The lamp has decided that it really does like the stick.
And?
There's more. And is reaching out.
Because?
Jesus, Jason, fine. Because it has decided that it wants the stick more than its lamp friends.
See, was that so hard?
No one's going to get this, Jason.
Oh, see how the stick is just sitting there, not moving, uncertain? Can it risk the pain again? Can it let her be vulnerable and unsure just as he was and not rush to her side to ease that discomfort? Or should he just leave, resigned to a life with other sticks?
And you're getting all that from what? Its expression, body language.
Mostly the body language. It doesn't have expressions, Ashley.
It doesn't have a body, Jason.
Shh, wait.
Oh, God.
The first stagehand comes back on, this time holding a piece of paper that they are looking at. They walk up to the stick like they are going to move it. They glance one more time at the paper, then look up and mouth counting up from 1. While that's happening,
the uncertainty is palpable, isn't it? What's he going to do?
The second stagehand comes out and goes to the lamp. The first stagehand reaches about 7 and moves the stick slightly away.
There, can you see her devastation? How she second guesses everything? But...
The second stagehand moves the lamp just a little closer to the stick, and its cord is now fully extended.
She won't give up.
The first stagehand then moves the stick back to its original position.
You can't write a play without actors, Jason.
This isn't about the actors, it's about the story.
The stage crew being out there is really distracting.
Jesus, Ash, will you stop being so judgmental? Just give us a minute, okay?
Stagehands relax.
In an actual performance, we wouldn't use the stage crew. We'd have them move using strings or something. Look, if you can't leave your preconceptions and unconscious biases at the door, there's really no point in sharing this with you.
I just don't think this is going to play.
So you won't direct it?
There's nothing to direct. It's a stick and a lamp. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to know if they've stopped acting when I yell cut? Jason, this isn't going to work.
Forget it then.
Jason, look.
Just forget it. Forget the whole thing.
Jason, wait. Jason. Might as well finish it.
The first stagehand finishes mouthing silently until reaching 10, then moves the stick next to the lamp. The lamp suddenly turns on, and the first stagehand makes the stick dance around in happiness. After a moment, with the help of the stagehands, the stick and lamp start to move down stage together, but the lamp is jerked backwards, unable to proceed because of the cord. The stick stops, motions the lamp on, and starts to move again. The lamp tries to move again, but can't go any further. The stick, now a bit away, is put down motionless. The lamp tries one last valiant effort to get there and makes it at the cost of being unplugged. Unlit, it is placed where it reached just as it went out. The stick goes back to the lamp, prods it, then is leaned up against it. The stagehands exit.
Oh, crap. That actually does work. Jason! Jason, wait!
Lights out.
Amazing. Well done, everyone. Thank you. Let me unmute my panel so I can get some opinions on what we just heard. There's Lisa. Wait, did I unmute? Good. Okay. Awesome. So this is pretty self-contained little fun thing here. What were your first impressions? Either of you can go ahead.
Well, I love object storytelling, like already, like, and I like non-dialogue pieces. So, like, I was pretty sold on this playwright's concept right off the bat, which probably puts me at a biased place because I was like, come on, Ashley, just try. It's also, again, for those of you who know my relationship with Ezra Tozian, this is probably, it was very reminiscent of like most of our artistic collaborative conversations.
There's a reason I put Ezra in that role.
You know, like, I have an idea, Ezra, and I was just like, no. No, Ezra's actually very very yes and friend. But like, I don't know, so I found a very cute, charming piece, you know, and like, I don't know, like, I really wanted to not be on Jason's side, though. I think just because, you know, he was like, come on, and like, so like, you know, like, but I understand that I suppose the playwright wanted a conflict there, otherwise the play is just the lamp and the stick, but like, I would legit watch 10 minutes of the lamp and the stick and object storytelling, so like, but
Yeah,
I do
sure.
also, I love board stagehands, so that also.
It's a fun little comedic thing. Lisa, what were your first thoughts?
Yeah, I was like, okay, what is this making fun of? Is this, like, at first, like at the very beginning, I was like, is this making fun of itself? And then when we got to the who needs the damn actors anyway, I was like, okay, so is this a commentary on how, you know, actors are like not essential workers, or like we don't need them? Yeah, so I was curious about that.
Or is it making fun of dudes like Jason who get their feels hurt when people don't show up to their auditions? Which is fun too. Yeah. Yeah, I guess there's sort of a couple different directions you could go with this. What would you want to see in a new draft, or does this feel finished and polished to you?
Yeah, I guess I want it to be really clear, and maybe it's just me, because on what are we like rooting for Jason, or is this like, are we like, is like he being made fun of, and
Right.
people like him being made fun of?
Yeah, because it does seem very satirical. So, like, what is the point of view? What is the target of the satire? Yeah, totally good question. John, do you have any thoughts for another version?
Yeah, I think it's specifying the relationship, because like, I like, on the one hand, that the playwright feels like a parody of playwrights, but on the other hand, I'm sort of like, I don't know, there's such the specificity about actually being an artistic director, right? Because like, these are very artistic directors, sort of like, it's their job to, you know, be a little more scrutinous than the director whose, I feel like, job is to see possibility.
Right.
And so, like, I don't know, it's like something about their relationship isn't quite vibing to me yet. Like, they're both residents of the same company, and I really, I don't know, it's like, either I want more of something. Either Jason is more of a parody or less of a parody, and Ash is more of an artistic director or less of one. I think right now, it exists in a strange balance right now, and I think that can be. I would just love to see that played around with for a next draft, like not even the final product.
Totally, yeah. Just do a draft with super heightened stakes and heightened personalities and things like that.
And also the stakes do feel pretty low, which I'm like, that's cool, but it's like,
Right. Like, I want to know, is Jason like trying to say something to Ashley too?
yeah, because there were a couple wisps of that where it's like, are you trying, like, I was waiting for Jason to be like, you dumped me last week, right? So it's like, because like what art does not come from self. So like, yeah.
True. So I'm pretty sure this is intended as a standalone thing, but does it feel like a standalone thing to you, or would you want to see a longer version of this?
Perhaps not a longer version of this, but I feel like this exists within a series of short scripts about this theater company.
Oh, that's cute. That's cute. Lisa, what about you?
Yeah, I think it seems either self-contained as a 10-minute or as like what's like the next, I forget, like maybe even like a little longer, but definitely not. I don't know if I mean, anything could become a full length, right?
True, so true. But it's like, there's no like nothing in it calling to you being like, oh, I need to know like an hour more of this story.
I would watch an hour more of Stick and Lamp. So
so Playwright, if you're listening, you can drop the self apology and just produce the Stick and Lamp play. We're all here for it. I love it. Okay, so let's move on to our second to last piece of the show, which is Bag God. Let me stop this and screen share. And I love that Aaron's in costume. This is delightful. I expect nothing less. Max, I need to unmute you. Yes, there we go. Perfect. So this ridiculous thing. There's a long cast of characters, but not all of them are in this little segment. If you guys could go down the line and introduce yourselves. Who is Zeus?
Oh, I am Zeus. My name's Max. I'm Zeus. I've been having a little bit of glitchy difficulties, so if I drop out and come back in on my phone, don't be surprised.
That's very Zeus of you. It's fine. He just kind of blips and blops around. Cool. Who's
I'm Emily. I am playing Aphrodite.
perfect?
I'm just going to say that I'm Ezra and I'm playing Hermes.
Delightful.
I'm Kitten, and I am reading Athena.
Awesome.
I'm Aaron, and I am reading Apollo.
And I'm pretty sure I'm on stage directions for this one because we ran out of people. So, Mount Olympus, how do you say that word? Ganymede? I should know that. I studied Latin.
Ganymede.
Ganymede's grotto, a Greek mythology themed drag dive in Athens, Georgia. The top secret floor of the Olympia building in downtown Atlanta that's only accessible to deities, all of which can be suggested in various ways. Cool. Scene 1, an intervention. So they're all in the throne room on Mount Olympus. They're all dressed impeccably in modern designer clothing, not a toga in sight. Athena is pacing, checking her watch every few minutes and sighing audibly. Apollo and Aphrodite, by contrast, are totally relaxed. The former absentmindedly strums a ukulele, while the latter serenely combs her hair. After a few moments, Hermes enters, not looking up for his phone.
What's good, fam?
For the 1000th time, we're not related.
Your loss.
Tell you what's not good, you little shit. Your perpetual tardiness.
If it's perpetual, shouldn't you be used to it by now?
You have literal wings on your goddamn flip-flops. How are you always late?
I'm an enigma, wrapped in a mystery, inside a not giving a fuck. Besides, the guest of honor too.
Like father, like son.
Ouch, low blow.
He's not here yet because I knew you would be an irresponsible little twit, so I purposely asked him to meet me here 30 minutes after I told you.
Big
And I was right.
Ooh, big goddess of wisdom energy.
See, I can be counted on for some things.
As much fun as listening to you three bicker absolutely isn't. Do we have, like, a plan for this little intervention? Because if this goes sideways and lightning bolts start flying, I'm gonna be pissed I wasted all this time straightening my hair.
Hey, He's literally the messenger of the gods.
So you want me to text him?
I want you to do your damn job. For
I'm
once.
sorry. Walking souls into the underworld like packs of Pomeranians isn't enough of an occupation for you. No one respects the side hustle.
Need some elaborate plan just to tell him to knock it off?
It being how he's operated with impunity for millennia?
It also happens to be how Apollo and I came about.
Another excellent reason to put a stop to it.
Sorry we couldn't all enter the world as the worst migraine in history.
At least she's managed to stay consistent.
Hey, why don't you remind me how you were born again?
You mean rising glamorously from the sea?
I seem to recall testicle foam being involved.
It often is, unfortunately.
So gung-ho, and anyway, isn't your whole thing free love?
Yes, but only when it's freely given.
Silence hangs in the air for a moment as the temperature in the room drops a few degrees.
The world is changed. It's about time the almighty king of the gods enters the 21st century, even if we gotta drag him kicking and screaming.
Adorable that you think this is going to end in kicking and screaming and not singed eyebrows and being hurled down the sides of a mountain. No offense to your better half. Hey, where is old Hephaestus anyway? This is one of those times it would be nice to have a heavily armed friend around.
You know he'd rather throw himself into a volcano than be involved in conflict. Especially when it comes to Zeus.
To be fair, he'd rather throw himself into a volcano than do most things. The guy's got a serious erection for eruptions.
Could you not? It's not my husband's erections we're here to discuss. But let's just say he's the god of iron in more ways than one.
Focus, deities. He'll be here any minute, and we need to be prepared.
Zeus appears as if out of thin air.
You rang, dearest daughter?
Hermes takes a quick photo of Zeus, who charmingly smiles.
Oh, Father, you're here, and right on time.
Well, it's not every day that someone summons me, so I just had to know what all the fuss was about. Please, don't leave an old man in suspense. To what do I owe this great honor?
Well, we just wanted to...
We wanted to, raise a concern.
Not a concern so much as
Yeah, concern wasn't really the right word.
What she was trying to say is...
Don't tell her what she's trying to say.
I'm just trying to help.
Well, you see, we're kind of having this, you could call it a PR problem?
PR problem?
Yeah, you know how image-obsessed the world is these days with social media and...
Right. Everything's about perception and clout.
You know what they say, the times they are a-changin'?
Okay, everyone stop. I'd rather take a lightning bolt between the butt cheeks than listen to this for one more second.
Me.
I'm taking charge. That's what you wanted in the first place, right?
Go on, son.
What they're trying to say is, you can either start keeping that divine dick in your pants, or you can hit the proverbial road. See? Was that so hard?
Is what Hermes said with all of his usual tact correct? Is that what this whole meeting is about?
More or less, yeah.
So you don't think that I, king of the gods, conqueror of titans, father of heroes and monsters, who has ruled over Olympus since time immemorial, am not entitled to blow off steam via a few dalliances here and there?
A few?
It's less about the dalliances themselves than about the way you initiate them.
What's wrong with the way that I woo?
Turning into a swan or an eagle or a bull or golden shower and having your way with someone isn't on the same level as swiping left.
Like we said, times have changed, and that kind of behavior is no longer considered an acceptable way for anyone, even a god, to behave.
And we're never going to make a comeback if our figurehead is the god of toxic masculinity.
Make a comeback. Nobody gives a shit about us anymore.
Actually, we remain quite popular with young homosexuals and in certain meme trading Facebook groups.
We've been discussing it, and we think we have a shot at reclaiming our relevance.
How exactly do you figure that?
Oh, witchy shit is all the rage these days. Astrology has never been hotter.
And as the pantheon that hung those stars in the first place, it only follows that we're poised for a resurgence.
Oh, I can't see. Okay. Then why in the world would we change how we do things now?
Because the humans have so many choices these days. They let their values guide their beliefs, not the other way around.
Evolve or die. Just look at the Christian God. He was all smashy, smashy, firstborns and floods, and then whoop, flipped the script, and suddenly he's a half-naked hippie preaching love and acceptance.
I mean, something clearly got lost in translation when it comes to that last bit, but you can't deny his longevity and the size of his following.
Technically, I think one of those was the father and one was the son.
A testament to the wonders a generational handoff can do.
Look, Christianity has been in decline for the last 5 centuries, so there's room for...
Oh, don't call it a comeback.
But the way you treat humans, the way you behave in general, really...
Some fleeting popularity?
This is our shot.
Can you imagine what I could do with Spotify?
And it's been so long since anyone's had an orgy in my name.
Speaking of which, you're hardly the poster child for fidelity.
Maybe not in the past, but I've been putting in the work. Hephaestus and I have been doing couples counseling with Hermes.
Hermes?
I mean, I am the god of boundaries.
And we've reaffirmed our love for one another within the framework of an ethically non-monogamous
This
relationship.
is ridiculous! After all I've done for you, for all of you, how could you betray me like this?
Not a betrayal, Pops. It's an opportunity.
And if I refuse this opportunity?
Then we'll have to remove you ourselves.
I'd like to see you try, little ones.
Oh, I'm sure you could handle the 4 of us.
But what about all of us?
What in the Hades is this?
It's a change.org petition.
Everyone signed it. Gods, demigods, nymphs, muses, the whole lot. Even got some folks from other pantheons.
I've never seen such ungratefulness in all my immortal life!
Please, don't make this any harder than it has to be, Father.
Oh, it's looking pretty easy for you from where I'm standing. Fine. You want to go at it alone? Be my guest. We'll see how far you get without my strength and leadership.
Father, you don't have to.
Well, that wasn't too bad, all things considered.
Seriously?
What do we do now?
Well, right now we have a pissed off Zeus on the loose and absolutely no good can come of that.
That sounds like a whole lot of not our problem to me.
It is if we're trying to rehabilitate our image. Okay, here's what we'll do. Split up and follow him, but keep your distance. Apollo, Hermes, you're a team.
Aye, Captain.
Literally every day that goes by, I suspect more and more that the Amazons had the right idea.
You and me both. Come on, let's try to keep the literal patriarchy from doing any more damage.
Blackout. All right, that was just as much fun as I thought it was going to sound out loud. Let me unmute my panel so we can hear some reactions to this. Beautiful. I've put up the cast of characters so you guys can see some of the wonderful pun names like Cerberus, Daedalus, Peggy Sis. It's delightful. There's some great stuff in here. All right, John, Lisa, what were your initial thoughts with this piece?
I know. I'm curious about the selection of this section of it because I was like seeing the title. I was like, I want this to be a lot gayer, a lot faster. Like this was like a surprisingly heteronormative slice of it. And I was like, huh, all right, like, uh, and so I was like, I mean, so first off, I was like, where's the queers? But I see again in the cast, there are a lot of them. That's who I want to get to, and that's where I want the meat of the like. I want to feel that meat of that play. And then what was it? Oh yeah, I'm also like, and this is a probably a me thing, but I'm like, oh man, like other pantheons do exist in this world. I like I get really not tired, but I'm sort of like, man, it's always the Greek pantheon or the Norse pantheon, and never one of like the BIPOC pantheons. And so like that's my like slight like I really want more works that take place in other mythical contexts than Greek. But since it's here, make it gay. Like make it so much gay. That's my initial thought.
Lisa, what are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I had the same question of with the title and like the scene. And the whole idea of this is a god, like a literal god. Like I love that idea of like, you know, someone very important being brought down by social media, a change, you know, you're on a change.org petition, like, and it's like, this is a literal God. And like when people are, you know, lauded like gods, like, I love that.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's like very high stakes characters in these sort of ridiculously lower stakes situations like a change.org position or Instagram. It's super fun to watch that interact with each other. John, I wanted to ask you a follow-up question about your comment. This play is obviously about the Greek pantheon and going to continue to be about the Greek pantheon, but like, since you are a diversity and inclusion expert, like, would you feel comfortable with a white playwright writing those other pantheons, though?
With good research, dramaturgy, and not like trying to tell the experience of being that race.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the thing. Is like I'm not against playwrights writing about experiences outside or writing about identities outside of their own. I am a little worried about like experiences outside their own. It's like you could have Shiva and Kali and Guan Yin and you know, any other like you know, what is it like Neil Gaiman writing Anansi Boys? I think is a great example. It's not about being black and it's not about being African. It's about being a trickster god. You know, and I think mythology is actually one of the most beautiful ways to accomplish precisely that, writing other races and identities without like culturally appropriating, because you're taking it out of that context into our modern context. Same as you've done here, you know, like you're taking these gods and having them deal with change.org petitions and Spotify, and that can be that it's universal to us as an American audience, and so you take them out of this context. I don't think there's an appropriation that occurs.
That makes sense.
That's my thought on it. You know, I'm sure people will argue against that, but it's like, you know, and you know, again, it's we have for me, it's about I guess the cultural zeitgeist. There's so much about the Greek pantheon. So on the one hand, I understand because there's the shorthand, right?
Yeah, it's a shared language with your audience, absolutely.
And as they point out in the script, it's mimetic as well. Like we know, we hear Zeus and we're like, oh my God, it's going to be about Zeus, you know, being a fuckboy.
I think that part of this is it comes down to that amazing line that everyone in the comments was like, oh God, I'm tagged in this, where it says that like the Greek pantheon is popular in gay Facebook groups. And like, as a gay on Facebook, I can confirm that we are like weirdly obsessed with the Hellenic gods. And like, because they're so messy and we love it. Yeah. And so I think that's part of why this particular pantheon was probably chosen.
Very messy pantheon. Like I totally understand the impetus and don't fault anyone for choosing it. It was just more of a statement about the general lexicon of plays there.
So I want to hear like what what is something you want to see more of that you saw in this that you're not seeing, you just want to pull out? Lisa, I'll start with you.
I want to see how their gender queerness and drag culture plays, how this evolves in what, like, I want to know what else is going to happen. I mean, okay, they brought down Zeus and they're like, okay, we're going to smash the rest of the patriarchy, and it's like, I'm curious to know what gets revealed about drag culture and queer, you know, what does the playwright want us to know about this?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. John, were there things you wanted to see more of?
Yeah, I think I want to see the rest of the play. It's also because this feels very much like an inciting incident, you know, especially when we have a character where we're like, what's going to happen? And I am very curious, especially with the title, right? If you're reclaiming that word and then giving us only at the onset heteronormativity, I require a gay god soon. You know, I require immediately. Which I suspect is going to happen, but like now I'm hungry for it, or I guess I'm thirsty for it. I don't know.
Fair. All right, one last question, then we'll move on to our last piece. What do you think the big strength of this is? What is its current sort of linchpin of strength?
I think there's the wit to it. It's a very like I have been encountering plays that sort of encapsulate our modern times. So I think part of the strength of it, let's say, like the Greek classics, this survives another 500,000 years. I think things like it makes me wonder, you know, like what will dramaturgs be like? Oh, Spotify was this thing called an app, and it was like, you know, so I think it does that good mix that Greek tragedy does, that gives you the timeless and the timely all in one.
I love that. Lisa, what are your thoughts?
I think the specificity of the voices of the characters that are written so far, and overall like reclaiming these gods and like making them these characters in this world, in this specific in drag culture, drag life. Yeah,
I love it. All right, so we're going to move on to our final play of the evening, and this one, I will warn you, is so strange. I love it. It is my my personal favorite, I think. But please be patient with the actors as they attempt to cold read the language in this one, because it is exciting and fun. Okay, I'm sharing my screen now. Perfect. Okay, let's go down, and actors, read off who you're playing.
Right. I'm Ezra. I am reading, I believe it's John Kultura.
I'm Aaron. I am playing Comrade Dix.
I'm Emily. I am reading stage directions. Rachel, who am I not reading?
You're reading stage directions.
Stage directions, DNA.
And everything but presenter.
Everything but presenter and stage directions. Cool. Thank you.
I'm Kitten and I'm presenter.
Perfect. All right. Take us away.
Setting: a classroom. This year, last year, next year, a decade ago or a decade hence, this country or another. There is a writing board. Smudges indicate that a name has been obliterated or erased. Another name, Comrade Dix, has been written on the board. On stage is a puppet theater of some sort. The puppet theater represents the device on which a nature documentary is presented to the class. The puppets will portray the natural world, though not necessarily in a realistic manner. Dix, already present, is a teacher's assistant. Dix stands at the front of the class dressed in a severe, restrictive manner. Dix's gender is irrelevant. Dix is a patriot. Jan Kultura enters. He is an immigrant, but now a citizen. His clothing and demeanor indicate that he has either never quite learned to conform to the customs of his new country or that he never fully wanted to. He is erudite. Perhaps this is a family trait. Nonetheless, he has never mastered the use of either the definite or indefinite articles of speech. Today he is out of his element, but tries to be open to new experiences. Sounds are heard marking the officially designated beginning of class.
Good morning, class. Your regular teacher is not here today, but do not worry, I am here instead.
Kultura writes his name on the board, and at times he will write other keywords on the board.
My name is Mr. Kultura, and this class, I have been told, is Bidialectical Advanced Biology. To your ears, my accent may sound strange. Does everyone understand what I am saying?
I, as Comrade Sub-Ed Dix, I write to Hearless Nowise.
Yes. I thank you, Comrade Dix.
Comrade Guest Eder Kultura.
Neither Edgar, Edmund, Edward, nor Edwin are my names. I am called Mr. Kultura, like Goetic demons. I should keep my personal name to myself.
Own life is crime think. Comrade, you speak Newspeak.
Newspeak? No, that dialect I do not speak very well, though I speak other languages in addition to the one you call Oldspeak.
I will. Info rec. True word, translate for you. I, as true speaker, learned Oldspeak. Comrade students, our normful Ader is unhere nowadays. Comrade guest Ader, Kultura unspeak Newspeak.
Yes, Mr. or Ms. Norman or Norma Edgar, Edmund, Edward, or Edwin is not here. I was born here, so when I was a student in my homeland, I was not born here. So when I was a student in my homeland, school curriculum was different. They taught us Bataidapé.
Comrade guest Ader Kultura is on our land full person birthed in Bataidapé, on our land and unbellyfeel Newspeak. In old year in ungoodful landful, on our landful ed dep odded, Comrade ex-student Kultura ungoodlandful old speak.
Ungoodlandful old speak? No. Bataidapé is not name of my homeland, and Bataidapé is not what you call old speak of my homeland. It is artificial language like your Newspeak.
Comrade guest Ader Kultura spink, think crime need read.
Like editors of Newspeak Dictionary, Bataidapé's theorists and teachers believed it language of future. Then one year, government opted for different future, and Bataidapé classes were canceled, and Bataidapé dictionaries disappeared from shelves of bookstores and libraries.
Post now old speak books will is unbooks, like ungoodful landful plus ungood art speak books is unbooks. Glory Vic our landful Newspeak.
Glory Vic, etc. When Bataidapé language of future was canceled, we were taught another language of another future called Chorukor, but we do not speak future language in present moment.
Comrade Ader Katora is from Ungoodland. In old year in Ungoodland, Ungoodlandful unedited plus ungood art speak and edited Comrade ex-student Kultura speak double plus ungood art speak.
Land of my birth is good land with good people. Government was bad. Following first year of Chorukor, my family left our homeland and came to this country, where I am now patriotic citizen.
In old year, Comrade Eder Kultura leave ungood land and come to our land, good land, but learned old speak and speak our landful crime think and unspeak good thinkful new speak. Need re-ed or he re-go to ungoodful on our land.
Need re-ed. This was often said when I was in school in homeland. As we speak of languages, I also have sister who went to music conservatory to sing opera and study Kobayan language.
Ungood muse ed dep, edid Comrade guest Eder Kultura's sister, double plus ungoodful, double plus on our land speak. Now, Comrade guest Eder Kultura, sister sing muse crime.
Yes, some critics agree. Muse crime, decadent, degenerate, diabolus in musica. Some compare sound to choir of hens. Or is this what Madame Kultura says about Chorukor?
Comrade guest Eder Kultura ungood bellyfeel old speak and muse crime.
Now less of Kultura clan saga. Mr. or Ms. Edgar, Edmund, Edward, or Edwin has left this documentary film on subject of sociobiology for you to view.
Kultura fam is crime thinkers, sex crimers, own lifers, unpersons from double plus ungoodful on our land. You unhear this warn you. Comrade students day order, you watch True Doc film ref social life sci.
Film title is The Matriarchy of the Ants. Matriarchy comes from mater, which is Latin for mother, and archy, which is Greek for government. So matriarchy means government by mothers. Whenever we have supper, Madame Kultura will remind me often that this is her preferred system of government.
True Doc film name is Mother Gov of Ants, from plus old ungood land speak for mother, and from double plus ungood old land speak or gov. Mother Gov. Mother Kultura is crime thinker.
Authorities said that about her in our homeland too. Ants are insects, which means that they have 6 legs and are not my mother's sisters.
Ants has 6 legs and unsis of crime thinker Mother Kultura.
Joke was lost in translation.
Comrade Ader Kultura unspeak goodwise newspeak. Speak double thinkful old speak.
Mr. Kultura starts the nature documentary. The presenter appears on stage, initially unacknowledged by either Kultura or Dix, wearing clothing appropriate to the host of such a documentary. As the various ants and their activities are described, they will appear in the puppet theater. Kultura will pause the documentary from time to time to either interject his own commentary or allow Dix to provide a translation. Whenever Kultura and Dix get into an extended exchange, the presenter and the ants can go on about their business. The presenter may behave as if taking a break. The ants may occasionally do un-ant-like things. However, when the presenter is speaking, the ants should be behaving like ants. The presenter may have a script, a teleprompter, or some equivalent device to consult. Done, done, not done, not done. Done, not done, done, not done. Done, 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 not done. Done, done, not done, done. Done, not done, done, not done. Done, done, not done, done. Done, not done, done, not done.
See that ant winding her way home? She's a she. Most ants you are likely to encounter are female. In fact, what is estimated to be the 12,000 to 22,000 species of the family Formaticae, the majority of ants are female. How did a complex set of often conflicting evolutionary pressures lead to this situation? Let us visit the matriarchy of the ants.
The title, The Matriarchy of the Ants, is presented.
Prolant go home. Double plus plentiful prolants is female. In double plus plentiful antlands, plus plentiful ants is female. Plentiful thousands num ant types, plus plentiful ants is female. We go to Mother Gov of Antland. Ant Gov is Mother Gov is Ant Gov.
Ants, like their cousins, the wasps and bees, are social insects in the order Hymenoptera, living together in large groups.
Ants, wasps, bees is social insects. Ants, wasps, bees is Hymenoptera. Hymenoptera is social insects. Hymenoptera lives socialized in plentiful nums.
Hymenoptera is from ancient Greek, human, meaning not human, but hymen or membrane, and pteron for wing.
Or deaf unwrecked. Comrade guest Eder Kultura speak plus plentiful on our land full double plus old speak.
Mr. Kultura is double plus old.
Hymenoptera from on our land double plus old speak membrane and wing.
Plus good.
Because of the complexities of their societies, we have often looked at ants and other social insects of the order Hymenoptera as allegorical reflections of our own societies. Perhaps, if we look more closely, we might call these allegories into question.
The queen of the Formica rufiberis species appears in the puppet theater doing what she is wont to do, laying eggs and being fed by worker ants.
This large ant is the queen of the nest of Formica rubiferus, also known as the red-barbed ant. She is the mother of all the ants in her colony. Every ant colony has at least one queen. The queen spends all day being fed and laying eggs.
Ants live in Antland. This is Big Mother of Antland. Day order for Big Mother. Eat food and make eggs. This is Big Mother of Antland.
While we call her the queen, she does not rule over her progeny like the leaders of human societies, using deliberation and the powers of state.
Ant Soch is double plus good Ant Gov. Big Mother of Antland is smart samewise leader of our land. Big Mother of Antland is unsmart samewise leader of ungod land.
In fact, her title of queen is a misnomer. During the Enlightenment, when the attention of natural philosophers was first drawn to the great insect societies, their only frame of reference was that of the monarchical governments that ruled over them. This political order was seen as so natural for humans in an era where humans were seen as the pinnacle of creation that it was assumed that monarchy was also the order to which the natural world, even the creatures under their feet, aspired. However, while the queen is mother to all, she does not rule over the nest. Rather, she and all the ants in her colony follow the dictates encoded in their genes, and these dictates lead them into conflict with one another.
Enlightenment thinkers also lived an era of colonial expansion, so ant nests seemed to them like colonies established by monarchist states.
Big mother of Antland, is leader of Antland. In plus old year, plus plentiful, ungoodful, thinkful, old speak thinkers, in ungood soch, and ungood govs, mal reported ref insect soch, sub boot. Big mother is mother of double plus plentiful ants of Antland. This warn you, you unhear word queen, unsoch think, ungov think, is ungood think. Antland is joy camp. Comrade Ader Kultura. Word rec, how translate gene from old speak to new speak vocab C?
Gene is a scientific term for the information by which inheritable traits are transferred from parent to offspring. It comes from Greek, genos, meaning race, type, or offspring.
Is true. Gene is life type info. Big Mother's genes, life type info, speak to Big Mother of Antland. Ant genes speak to ants.
For our purposes, the queen's story begins as a princess ant.
This warn you, unhear the word princess. Word is old gov thinful. Auntie Big Mother ant. Will is Big Mother. Big Mother is Big Daughter ant.
What distinguishes a princess from her sisters, the workers, are not her genes. Rather, she has been fed better than her worker sisters. This improved diet activates genes that allow her to develop both wings and fully functional reproductive organs.
Big daughter ants and cisprole ants is sisters grow up in Antland. Male ants grow up in Antland. Big daughter ants eat plus plentiful quant plus good food than cisprole ants. If quant stuff, then big daughter ants grow plus big, grow wings, grow good sex parts.
A molecule of ant DNA enters the puppet theater. TAGG, TTTG, TCGG, TCGG. Haploid larva, this is DNA speaking. Is food intake quality sufficient? Food intake quality sufficient. Genes for development of reproductive organs triggered. Begin development in pupa form. Activating metamorphosis into larva. Check. Initiating development of reproductive organs in the metasoma. Check. Initiating ovaries. Check. Ovarioles. Check. Oviducts. Check. Uterus. Check. Spermathecae. Check. Ovipositor. Check.
Also reaching adulthood are the drones, the male ants.
Male ants grow up in Antland.
On a warm and humid day, the colony is opened up by the workers, and now the sexually mature drones are sent into the world so they may spread far and wide. A few days later, the virgin queen are sent out. This minimizes the potential of inbreeding.
Minimizing potential of incest among insects.
Toro speaks sex crimes in ant soch. You on here.
Please translate narration, Comrade Dix.
Uncold and undried day, Antland be unclosed to cisprole ants. Big daughter ants and ant bros want good sex. Big daughter ants and ant bros go from Antland on unsame day, so ants good sex and unsex crime, you unhear.
As the worker ants seal the colony back up, the princesses and drones take to the air and mate with drones and princesses of nearby colonies of the same species. During the mating, the drone's reproductive organs explode, simultaneously inseminating the princess and causing his death. In some species, the princess will mate with only one drone, while in others, she might be more promiscuous, collecting sperm from many drones.
Troll ants close Antland. Big daughters plentwise good sexed with one or plentiful ant bros. Good sex make ant bros good sex parts explode and give big daughter plentiful sperms. Post good sex ant bros is dead.
The young queen collects and stores the sperm in an organ called the spermatocae. She will use this sperm as needed to fertilize eggs over a lifespan that in some species may last 20 or even 30 years.
Good sex with double plus plentiful sperms. Big daughter is now new big mother. Big mother has quant stuff sperms for 20 or 30 years.
If not eaten by a predator, the newly inseminated queen will break off her own wings, eat them for sustenance, and burrow into the ground to start her own colony, far away from her mother's colony.
Big daughter unjoin and eat own wings, and dig new antland unnearwise from old antland of old big mother. Big daughter is now new big mother of new antland.
The queen gets to work laying eggs. Once the first clutch hatch, the queen raises the first issue of larvae to adulthood. These workers are weak, but they quickly get to work foraging for food, expanding the colony's system of tunnels, grooming and feeding their mother, and taking care of the next clutch of eggs she produces, ensuring better conditions for their younger siblings.
Big mother of new antland make eggs. Eggs will is new cisprole ants. New cisprole ants is unstrong. New cisprole ants is food seekers, is antland tunnel diggers, is big mother feeders, is big mother cleaners, big mother's egg carriers. Cisprole ants make plus good life for antland of big mother.
These workers are sisters, and unlike their mother, infertile. But what of their brothers?
Cisprole ants is sisses. Big mother has good sex parts. Cisprole ants has good sex parts. Info required ant bros.
Before we answer this question, we must disabuse ourselves of the notion that the ant colony's internal organization accords to any of our theories of government. It is neither a matriarchal insect utopia free of internal conflict, nor a totalitarian dystopia in which every worker, every drone, is subject to a queen's despotic will to power. To understand the conflicts within ant society and their inner conflicts, we must understand their genes.
True doc film ref mother gov of antland speak person speak crime think ref person soch. True doc film is untrue doc film. True doc film speak person speak crime think is uncomrade unperson. True doc film dep will rewrite, will respeak, will revid true doc film ref mother gov of antland. You unsee this, you unhear this.
Day order, class. You watch True Doc film, ref Mother Gov of Antland. Comrade Dix, you translate True Doc film speak person.
It is common, on one hand, to think of the DNA molecule simply as genetic instructions, a blueprint for creating an organism, or, on the other hand, a history of the organism's ancestry. These are both true to an extent, but it is also important to understand organisms' genome as a collection of genes, much shorter sequences of DNA, and every gene has the potential to contribute whether or not the genes survive long enough to replicate in the next generation of organisms.
DNA is double plus big life type info and info ref mother and info ref father and info ref plus mothers and plus fathers and info ref double plus mothers and double plus fathers.
It is strange to attribute an emotion to a sequence of molecules, but if one could, one might call the genes selfish.
Molecules has feels is plus ungood think. Genes is own type life info.
We are at war with figurative language. We have always been at war with figurative language.
If they can be said to cooperate, it is only with other genes in the same DNA strand. Each success or failure to replicate in the next generation depends on their molecular bonds with one another.
Untrue doc film speak person speak plus ungood think speak crime think you unhear this.
With the queen as the mother of the entire colony, it was often imagined that every effort of every worker was devoted to replicating her genes, along with those of whatever male or males with whom she mated. But there is a peculiarity in their sex determination and reproduction that results in a conflict between the queen and her infertile daughters.
Antland day order, help big mother good sex, make eggs. Big mother has good sex parts. Cisprole ants has ungood sex parts.
Puppet of a molecule of human DNA appears in a puppet theater.
All right, thank you, actors, for making it through that. Aaron, like a special round of applause for you for living that Dick's life. That's
brilliant.
Impressive. Kitten, you gave me flashbacks to every educational video I've ever watched. Oh my God, that voice was incredible.
This is what I live for.
I am unmuting my panelists. Excellent. Wait, Lisa, did I unmute you? There we go. Panelists, what did you think of that?
Very imaginative. I love how theatrical that it has the potential to be. Like, I love like a human DNA puppet. Like, that's like, I love like, I always strive for like things I don't think I've ever seen in the theater. And this is definitely something that was like a human DNA puppet, you know, that's, I mean, and all these puppets, yeah, it's very imaginative.
No, I love it. I'm from Atlanta, which is the home of the Center for Puppetry Arts. So any show that has puppets in it, I'm like, yep, I'm in. I'm sold. Great. John, what were your first thoughts?
I think I'm looking for what the drama is, because right now I feel like I've watched the documentary twice. So like right now I'm like, I'm someone who is conflict driven when I read. So I'm like, what is the conflict? And also with the on good land, or the good land speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is. I actually took time to close my eyes to see if it worked without reading it, and I was having a very difficult time getting information from via Comrade Dix because I was so baffled by the language, and like that is, and so it's like is this for me? It feels like a play that is better read than seen because of the internal translation that is required, because it is English, but like. I am English is my third language, so I'm already doing some internal translation. So like a lot gets lost on me. And then I did sort of my dander raise a little bit at the idea of an immigrant who doesn't use like definite or indefinite articles, because I'm like, my mom is an immigrant who became a citizen, and that takes like 10 years of being in this country. And like rigorous testing. So like, and her English is actually really quite good as well. Hers is like, English is probably her fourth or fifth language. And like, she uses articles in her speech. So it's like, what is the playwright trying to say?
Right. Is this about the immigration, or is this just how English now works in this weird dystopia?
Right. And why call attention to this strange sense of English when English is already so mangled, right? Where it's like, why do we need like this particular derivation of modern English when we're already faced with this very alien version of it? And so I was very curious about that choice.
Yeah. Like why does Jan need to have a weird way of speaking when Comrade Dix already speaks?
Yeah, and we as an audience can imply throughout sort of the the setting that Cultura, who is speaking what we consider to be normal English, that is the oddity in this world, because that is the thing that requires translation. And so I think, I think there is no need to make Cultura seem even more foreign, and in fact probably makes everything else seem a lot more alien by default. So that's my initial thoughts on it.
Yeah, no, I totally see what you're saying there. Lisa, did it make sense to you? Like, where did it lose you? Where did it find you?
Yeah, I mean, I will. I love when plays have their own specific like language and like how that develops. This I definitely got. There were definitely times where it took a lot of focus. And I also had some questions about, what would this be? How would this be different if like I was seeing it done, not reading wise, is it going to be too hard for the audience? Is there a way, is there a way to do this that doesn't make the audience have to work too hard? Or is it, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it is a huge ask of the audience, the level of different this play is, the world that they get thrown into.
Yeah, so yeah, and it's hard, it's hard of course to tell from just the reading, like maybe when it's staged it would be, but my initial impulse is that it's it's a good start, and maybe there's a way to have both.
Yeah, I think what John mentioned earlier about like it not having any particular conflict, like perhaps if the audience had a conflict to latch onto, then they could kind of selectively listen to the strange dialect and know what to look for in those words instead of just trying to remember every detail because they don't know what's going to be important in 5 minutes yet. We have a comment in the comment section saying the conflict is the substitute in the government, and definitely there is this sort of like man versus society conflict, but I think what John was talking about is sort of a interpersonal conflict that's going to drive the show.
Yeah, what drives the action on stage, and like if we're looking at like creation of languages, like I always default to like Tolkien, right? Like he created an entire language and wrote a bunch of books around it. It's not that I'm uncomfortable learning a new language, it's more that like I wonder if this is a better novel than it is a play.
I had that thought too, but I still think there's ways, and there's still ways to like if it needs to be a theater piece, there's room to play.
Because the puppets are very fun in a live theater setting, and I think at the stage this would be so much less focused on the words, which is also a downside. Like the words would get drowned out by the action of the puppets. This would be much more focused on what the weird ants are doing.
Rachel, can I say that
yes,
as
absolutely.
an actor? So I felt that there was a little bit too much of the presenter.
Mm-hmm.
If we were going to do this as a theater piece, I think it might work really well as a voiceover. But as an actor in it and as an audience member watching it, there was very little that you can kind of do with it with a person standing there on stage. So I think maybe if you add more characters to it, it could be.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And like, is the presenter a physical presence? Is the presenter just a voice? But either way, I think as someone who is a science writer for a living, I love the presenter and how many facts I learned, and I feel horrible about smushing ants because they can live for 20 years. I'm a murderer. Oh my God. But also, I think it's going to be sort of that like, give us what we need. Don't give us more than that, because you're already asking so much of the audience and we're all tired. Go ahead, Kitten.
I'm fascinated by the science and the politics of this piece, but as an actor, as a director, as I'm reading through this, like, theater is a visual medium. Show, don't tell. All the script is doing right now is telling. Even if you have the most mesmerizing puppet show on earth going on, all of your human interactions are just people standing there talking to each other. Like there's nothing pushing that forward. There's no action here. And like John pointed out, there's no conflict. Like, so we've already made it this far into it. And even if this show is done and the audience is given like their little dictionary of what everything means, they shouldn't have to do that research.
Yeah.
And I'm all for the whole, like, don't assume your audience are idiots, throw them in the deep end and let them sort it out. And I'm curious as to where this will go and if it will become more engaging. But right now it just feels very much like somebody just sort of cramming language as a concept as opposed to letting the concept and characters exist and the language fall out of that.
Fair. Yeah. I think it is a high ask of the audience, and the payoff has to be as high as that ask of understanding that language.
And I absolutely feel like the presenter should not be on stage. They should absolutely be a voiceover for an almost all-consuming puppetry piece that goes on.
So want to see the ants puppets. I love it. Yeah, this was kind of a recurring theme in all of the other submissions. There are a lot of plays that I'm seeing where nothing actually happens on the stage. and I think this is one of those where it's like the world is so rich, the characters are so weird and interesting, and like I want to know everything, but like we did just kind of sit through a substitute high school class where we watched Sound of Music because the teacher didn't want to teach.
I mean, and this comes across like it is theoretically a stage script, but it feels very much like it's written by somebody who almost exclusively writes screenplays. And there's that trope for theater that like, yeah, on camera you can get away with two people having a long conversation in a car because there's lots of motion around them. Right. On stage, when you have your two actors sitting there like in their chairs behind their faux front, their faux front end car, it's not interesting or engaging.
Yeah, totally.
And I feel that this is very dangerously that line that this piece is towing.
That's totally fair. And I like there might be fun ways for the playwright to play around with the format, like do it as a Zoom play and like have that language be more physically present. But I don't want us to last forever. We're like 30 minutes past where I wanted us to be, but that's also because we got a horrifying pre-show. Thank you so much to everyone for showing up. Before I let everyone go, I want to say that, please, if you have money, tip the performers because the theater died and it's sad. You can message RK Pendergrass on Venmo, that's me, and then I will divide it up amongst our performers after the show. But before I let everyone go, panelists, you get to each adopt one play that you will give a little bit more feedback on or start a conversation. Lisa, which play would you like to adopt? Do you need me to go down the list again? Did I mute you?
Oh, no, I'm here. I have to pick one.
I know it's so, I mean, you can talk to all the playwrights if you would like, but for the sake of draw.
I feel like where I could be provide the most, I don't know, insight or collaboration in that way might be the second one, the ghost.
Which was the hard to find, the ghost one, yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. John, which play would you like to adopt?
I think for curiosity's sake, because I want to see where it goes and how it develops, I think I will adopt Fag God.
Perfect. Awesome. I will connect both of you to the playwrights of those individual pieces, but if you have other feedback or want to talk to other playwrights, please let me know and I will make connections. Audience members, there's the camera. If you have thoughts, feedback that you want to pass along to the writers, please email scribenight@scienceartfusion.com. Keep an eye out on social media for postings for calls for submissions for the next Scribe Night, which will happen at some point. I just need to figure out when. And if you want to be on an email list or anything like that, you can just email scribenight@scienceartfusion.com and I will make sure I bug you next time I do a show like this. Thank you to all of my performers. You are so wonderful. Thank you to our panel. Thank you so much to the writers. You guys are incredible. And I hope to see you all again soon. That's it. That's all she wrote. I know how to end these things, I promise.